And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, welcome to the Consumer Quarterback Show. We love to help you win in any marketplace. We do that by bringing on all types of great expert contributors. And we got a great lineup for you today, as always. Matt DeMayo going to be in studio here or on the line. StartRemembering.com. He's a memory expert. We have Jenny Restrepo as well, Insured Title Agency. And we're going to be kicking off here with State Rep Berny Jacques on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And we're going to talk about China land purchasing in the United States and in Florida. Also a bill preventing credit card companies from tagging gun purchases, as well as some other interesting topics relating to the death penalty and some of the different things like we saw happen with the Parkland shooting. So we're going to talk about some legislation to potentially change the voting to no longer be unanimous on those types of decisions. Quick shout out to Replenish IV Solutions. Stephen and Lisa Gunnan over at Replenish IV Solutions, longtime friends of the program. I love going in there once or twice a month or a quarter, and what happens is you go in, you get a vitamin infusion drip directly into your bloodstream, and it's vitamins and all types of good stuff. It's going to boost your immunity. Replenish IV Solutions, check them out online, replenishivsolutions.com. Make sure you let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, we got a hot listing here, brand new listing, one of our commercial listings from the Platinum MVP team, 4404 Orient Road in Tampa. So attention, landlord owners, people that are wanting to invest in real estate. I've got a great opportunity. You got 5 units that are all currently leased, 6,000 square feet, well-built office building with a metal roof, and it's got, all types of updates and upgrades throughout the property. 4404 Orient Road in Tampa, just down the street from the Hard Rock Casino, the Indian Casino there in Tampa Bay. Recently updated interior, great investment opportunity on Orient Road in Tampa, $1.4 million property listing of mine. 10821 Tier Lane. This is a beautiful single-family property we've got listed in Port Richey, Florida, Pasco County, 1,432 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. You got an open floor plan, just a beautiful property. You got to see this one and check it out. 10821 Tier Lane, Port Richey, Florida. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumMVPteam.kw.com. That's right. We love our troops. We love our veterans, saving our country, saving us from overseas and domestic. Welcome back in, Berny Jacques.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Thanks so much. And it was great watching, you get elected and seeing all your social. I love following on social. How's that experience been like for you?
It's been amazing. I think last time I was here, I was still a candidate there on the home stretch. And so it's been quite a journey. And our simple message during that campaign was we are running to keep Florida free, period, plain and simple. And we've hit the ground running to do just that.
I love it, man. And it seems like you've got cooperation as well with your colleagues at the state and, of course, the governor. Great leadership. How do you see the next few years playing out?
Absolutely. It was really a banner election for conservatives, America First types. And, of course, that started with our governor, who had just about a 20-point spread as far as his victory, which is unheard of in Florida. I mean, it used to be, if you won by three points, 3 percentage points, that was considered the landslide.
Yeah.
And so that was just amazing. And we had a lot of great people from across the state who were elected by very huge margins, to the point now we have super majorities in both the Florida House and the Florida Senate. And so the people of Florida are making their voices very clear that they like the direction that we are headed in under this governor's leadership, and added more reinforcements in his ranks in our legislature.
Yeah, absolutely. China land purchasing, that's one of the biggest things that I've been talking about on this show, as well as ESG, which you're very articulate about ESG. I want to touch on that later, but this was a story I did a couple days back on my show. China buying land. They bought 300,000 acres of land in North Dakota, and it was only 12 miles from an Air Force base. The Fu Feng Group is the purchaser of that land.
Very troubling, very suspicious, and very concerning, because here is our number one adversary, the Chinese Communist Party, are using these, basically Chinese-based companies. And remember, over there in China, none of these companies can exist without being sanctioned, by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. So they're arms of our adversary over there. And for them to be able to purchase lands here in the U.S., not only just in general, I don't think they should be able to buy any land in our country, but to have them be able to buy land close to military installations and agriculture. They're doing a lot of farmland purchases as well, which is very critical to our food supply lines. This is very concerning, and we need to fight back against it every step of the way. And there is a movement here in Florida to do just that. The governor has expressed that, and there is a bill right now in the works. And one of the leaders in that is actually Senator Jay Collins here from the Tampa area, who will be leading that effort to make sure that the Chinese do not own land here in the free state of Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. And that's definite. We got to have that. If you just joined us, we're talking with Berny Jacques. He's state rep, District 59, Seminole Largo, right here in Pinellas County, doing a great job and a great leader for our area. And so China, purchasing land. Talk about this bill preventing credit card companies from being able to tag gun ownership. One of our gun purchases, one of our expert contributors for the show is Thomas King. He owns Florida Firearms Academy. Lots of patriots frequent that shop, and he talks about this all the time, the discrimination. He's been shut off by his bank. What are we going to do to stop that?
Well, we are going to do everything we can to stop that. And Brandon, you mentioned earlier this whole concept of ESG, and this falls into that category. So these financial institutions, they get basically enlisted by the federal government or other governmental entities to basically do things that the government otherwise couldn't do.
Right.
Things that would just be blatantly unconstitutional. We see it in the context of speech when it comes to big tech, when they're really acting at the behest of governmental powers.
Exactly.
And now we see it in the context, of course, in the Second Amendment. There's been this movement from the leftists out of Washington to get these credit card companies to tag and classify gun purchases, create their own little category, and basically identify them as suspicious activity.
Yeah.
And this is obviously very troubling because we have a very robust Second Amendment here in our country. But for a while, the credit card companies were resisting. They're like, look, it's a purchase. We just kind of tag it as sporting goods. But they were relentless on these credit card companies, and now they're doing it. And so here, this bill in Florida says that practice can no longer be accepted,
right? Because
it's number one, it's troubling on many fronts. Number one, it creates this gun registry, right? That the government can't do. So now you're going to be on a list where you could be harassed just by being a law-abiding citizen, exercising in a constitutionally protected right.
Yes,
and you can have law enforcement coming to you because you've been tagged as suspicious.
Right.
You can have a situation where thieves and hackers can get into these databases and now know the hit list of where to do home invasions, to take your guns, or to do thefts, when you're not home, because now they know you got such a certain amount of firearms or so forth. I mean, it's troubling on a lot of different aspects, and we want to make sure that that can't be done here in Florida. And the other thing that it does, it's a chilling effect on the Second Amendment. So it prevents somebody from participating in commerce, their legally protected right for a constitutionally protected right to purchase a firearm. And now they're going to be thinking twice. Should I do this? Should I not?
Right. It's intimidating.
It's intimidating. That's part of the effect. We've seen it in a lot of different contexts from this federal government and from this regime out of Washington. And this is one of them. And it stops here in the free state of Florida.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be the first co-sponsor of that bill. It was actually one of our ideas that we had to push forward, but it's often been said great minds think alike. And one of my colleagues, Representative Snyder, put the bill forward, and I said, sign me up. Let's do this and let's get it done.
That's awesome. I love that. You guys are doing some great work up there. So that's just a roundabout way, as you said, for the private sector to get involved. And there's numerous examples of this kind of stuff playing out. There was a story about Coca-Cola basically colluding and paying these different groups that basically will go after their adversaries. So in other words, a parent group stands up and says, oh no, Coca-Cola's got too much sugar. They went to like the NAACP, the National Hispanic Heritage Association, something along that. Did you hear that story?
I saw that. Yeah, I just heard about that. I mean, it's ridiculous. The amount of power that is now concentrated and these corporations, who are now in bed with the federal government. I mean, these are two entities that you don't want on your bad side, and now they're in cahoots.
Exactly.
And they're weaponized against patriots all across our country, and hiding information, sweeping it under the rug, things that are very harmful to our citizens that they're simply manipulating the game against everyday people, and that cannot be allowed in a free society. It cannot be allowed in a republic. Governor DeSantis makes this point all the time. We the people decide how to govern ourselves,
right?
And we will not be dictated upon by either a central regime up in Washington, by unelected bureaucrats, nor should we be dictated upon by corporate woke corporations who are trying to do things that nobody elected them to do. We still have a right to live a free life here in our country, and certainly in the free state of Florida, that will be the case.
Amen, Bernie. That's absolutely right. Since you mentioned DeSantis, I've got a clip teed up here I want to play about, and this is something that hits home close to me because I've got a teenage daughter getting ready to go into college, and then, you hear of all the CRT and this ridiculous stuff. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's bad. It's
and
really
gender
bad.
affirming. I've got a Trump clip we'll play in the next segment, but here's DeSantis talking about the CRT and the intersectionality.
The College Board announced Wednesday that it will be removing sections of its Advanced Placement African American Studies history course that focus on critical race theory and queer education. The decision comes after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis banned the course from his state, claiming that, quote, education is about the pursuit of truth, not the imposition of ideology or the advancement of a political agenda.
We want education, not indoctrination. When you look to see they have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons, that's a political agenda.
Yeah, and and the thing that comes to mind too is when you hear him talk, and then you see like the Tampa Bay Times or some of these other newspapers coming out with different slants against it. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the bias in the media too, Bernie?
Well, it's huge, and we've known this for some time. Those of us who've been involved, I mean, a lot of Americans have seen this, but it's been out in the open. I think certainly during the 2020 election, I think that was clear as day when they suppressed information about Hunter Biden, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these both big tech and literally media outlets were running interference,
exactly.
for a candidate who filed for office. I mean, basically giving them in-kind support.
Like,
right?
Like a campaign
right.
contribution.
It really is a campaign contribution because, there's so much you can get out, if you have the media and so much information. So if the media decides to shut you off and suppress and only carry your narrative,
right.
I mean, that is a campaign contribution. It's a huge one.
Right.
And so... and then later on, of course, now they're saying, oh, yeah, it was true, actually. The laptop was
right.
true. And before they were telling you you're a conspiracy theorist, you're being deplatformed, you were being tagged. Yeah. They wouldn't even let the news outlet that broke the news, I think it was the New York Post, they were locked out from their own Twitter account.
Right.
I mean, they're a legitimate news source who's been here for like over 100 years.
That's right.
And so this is the type of thing we're up against. I mean, whether it's woke corporations, the media, Hollywood, all the powers that be are being weaponized again on us, patriots, the American people. And we have to have leaders who can stand up against this because here's the case. The governor's correctly correct on this issue. We cannot have ideology. We cannot have indoctrination. We need real education. And certainly the media knows better, but they're going to try to malign this governor to make it seem like he's doing something wrong when he's really just standing on the side of truth. I mean, this course is unacceptable. Right. We can't be brainwashing our kids on radical left-wing ideology.
Yeah, and it comes down to that, truth. Too many people on the left lack critical thinking skills. They go along with the flow, and I think that's a lot of what you find in big cities is you have that group think. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so goes there, and I go to the same bar, and we're in the same club, so I'm going to, instead of going against the grain and standing for truth and what's biblically correct and being a patriot and loving your country and standing up for what's right, too many people fall into that, the path of least resistance. I'm going to go along to get along because all of my Democrat buddies over here. I think groupthink plays a lot into that. And by the way, I want to touch on the southern border when we come back. We got to take a quick break here. But the southern border, meanwhile, with all this going on, we have a wide open border. We've got the potential to get sucker punched like 9/11, make 9/11 look like it was a very small case. There's a lot going on here. More with Berny Jacques on the Consumer Quarterback Show, state rep from District 59 right here in Pinellas County. Taking a quick break, coming back. More with Bernie in studio here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, Brandon Grimes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We're powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. My wife Lindsay and I own a top-ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay. We feature our listings live on air, help our sellers profit more and sell faster by reaching thousands of people every day on our show. 2156 Masters Court in Dunedin. This is one of our beautiful Dunedin, Florida properties. This is a condo. Bring your golf cart. You can enjoy that golf cart style living right here in beautiful Tampa Bay. 20 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. You got a condo that has 2 owner suites, master suites, and you are close to the highly sought after community of St. Andrews Links Golf Club. 2156 Masters Court in Dunedin, Florida. One of our hot listings from the Platinum MVP team. 1641 El Terre Trail. This is in Clearwater. Now, this is a completely renovated and updated property. It would be a perfect property for rental as well. You can probably do a short term there. 2555 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, completely updated, renovated. 1641 El Terre Trail, Clearwater, Florida. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, we got Berny Jacques in the house, Florida State rep, and Bernie, right before the break, I was, kind of teasing about the southern border here, talking about it. I mean, just the amount of stuff that's been going on, nefarious stuff, for years now. It's been a couple years since Biden took office, and I love how Governor DeSantis has, shipped folks to New York City. Oh, you want to be a sanctuary city? Here you go. And now they're starting to feel the effects of that too.
Right. Thank goodness we have a governor that acts and that doesn't just stand idly by while this invasion is happening on our southern border. And that's exactly what it is. It's an invasion. So, I mean, obviously, these illegal crossings are problematic for a number of reasons. Number one, you're getting this influx of cheap labor that brings down wages here in our communities and across the nation. Not good for Americans and people who have the legal right to be here, folks who are doing it the right way. It's an issue for human trafficking. You're having a lot of that happening, especially with children. Yes. I mean, some of the most horrible things that are happening with these coyotes and these transports is unimaginable what's happening to people. And then you have this situation also with this fentanyl that is coming through across our southern border that is literally killing our citizens by the day in huge numbers. And a lot of people are actually calling for this thing to be classified as a weapon of mass destruction. The amount of havoc that is causing on communities is devastating. And so this is something we have to get under control. We have to hold the Biden regime accountable. And I know some of the new congressional members who are now in the majority up in Washington will do just that and do the oversight and push. But in the meanwhile, here in Florida, we're going to do everything we can to protect our citizens from the flow of illegal immigration. And I stand with Governor DeSantis in doing that. Yeah, absolutely. We love Governor DeSantis for sure. Death penalty change to current. So let's dive into that one. Yeah. So currently, under current law, it's very unfortunate. You need a unanimous standard, meaning all 12 jurors have to agree to recommend the death penalty. Mind you, Brandon, this is after all jurors agree that the person is guilty of this capital offense. And they all agree that the person is eligible for the death penalty. They've all found that this person meets what's called an aggravating factor that makes them eligible for the death penalty. So a lot of boxes are checked. And then the last phase is when they give their recommendation. And right now, one juror, after agreeing to all those things, that this person committed a heinous crime and that they're eligible for the death penalty, can stop the whole process, can derail the administration of justice by just saying, I'm not going to do it, which I believe is a violation of their oath, because all those jurors who get picked, they swear and say they can be fair and impartial and follow the law. So if you're telling me you agree this person's guilty and that they meet the criteria for the death penalty, why would you then, as one or a handful of people, be able to stop the administration of justice? That's wrong. We saw this come to light in a very high-profile way with the Parkland situation. And those families are already grieving. I cannot imagine the pain that they're feeling from that loss that happened. And then all to see a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion, insult to injury, to see 2 or 3 holdouts refuse to give this guy what he deserves, which is the ultimate punishment. And a lot of people are scratching their heads. They're like, if this guy who literally planned mass murder on children and carried it out and killed so many children and teachers, if he's not eligible for the death penalty, people are asking, then there's something wrong with our system if that wasn't done. So this bill corrects that. it basically brings it back to a supermajority. So if 8 out of 12, so you can have 4 dissenting.
Yep.
If 8 says, we recommend the death penalty, then that person, that's the recommendation.
Right.
And so we think that's the right way to do it. And it wasn't that long ago when I was a state prosecutor, from 2012 to 2016, not that long ago, all you needed was a simple majority, 7. And so there was a series of Supreme Court cases that made it be unanimous that turned out to be wrong because the Florida Supreme Court came back and they're like, basically they said, whoops, our bad. We got it wrong.
Wow.
But all the while, people are getting off basically free, and true justice is not being administered, and we have to correct it. The ball's in the legislature's court. The governor's on board with this, and myself and Senator Ngolia are pushing it in the legislature.
Bernie, how do we continue this trend, not only in Florida but across the country? How do we win more elections as conservatives, as patriots, people that love our country, people that are for free and fair elections and voter ID and closed borders and legal immigration? Because we saw what happened with Carrie Lake out in Arizona, right. And that's still there's still stuff going on there. We got just a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I'll answer that question. But one of the things you touched on, I'm glad you did, was election integrity.
Yes.
One of the bills that I'll be bringing forward, and you're going to get a sneak peek, we haven't filed it yet, is to ban any kind of foreign-made machines or software to be used in our elections.
Amen.
And so stay tuned for that. We're going to be rolling that out soon. But how do patriots win? You have to be bold. You have to stand firm on what you believe and run on your record and run on results that fellow patriots have brought across the finish line. That's why in Florida we've been so successful, because people look at the DeSantis model, and even candidates who weren't in office can say, look, I will be like a Governor DeSantis. I will support the agenda. And you know what? The voters rewarded those candidates.
Yeah.
And so we have to be bold and make sure that we advance our cause forward. The radical left, if the shoe were on the other foot, they will not slow down, right?
Right.
So we can as well when we're in a unique position to advance our conservative principles. And that's what we've done in Florida. And the voters are rewarding us. And the amount of people who are coming down to the state,
yes,
is testament of it all by itself, that we're doing something right here, and so we got to keep that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the fears, is all these people leaving California, leaving state like New York, coming down, changing the voter demographic. But actually, the opposite happened. 30 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. They added to our ranks. You're totally correct, because people, and that's something I always emphasized during my campaign. I was like, look, we're the free state of Florida, but if you're going to come down here, remember why you left.
Right.
Do not bring your blue state politics down across on the state line. With that garbage.
Yeah.
And a lot of people clearly listened.
Absolutely.
We're doing well.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Absolutely. I love it. And you look at the crime rates up there, and you look at some of that stuff happening, and just the stuff happening on the left with the where their gender affirming care it is, unbelievable stuff. Bernie, keep up the good work up there, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Good to be back.
Hey, awesome, man. Good to have you. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. Coming back, Jenny Restrepo going to be in studio with us here on the program. Jenny Restrepo, we're going to talk about title fraud, true crime, some of those different things we're seeing in that space. And later on, we've got Matt DeMayo as well, memory expert Matt DeMayo on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check us out online, consumerqb.com. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to My Daddy's Show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.